Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am not even going to talk this morning. I'm just going to jump into part 2 of my amazing conversation with Juliana Page. And I hope you enjoy part 2 as much as you enjoyed part 1. Let's get to it. Are you in a new season of your life? Are you stuck and searching for clarity so you can make a career change? Do you just need the courage to switch careers? Are you ready to follow God's plan for your career? Welcome to Choose Your Next Yes. Hi, Kindred. I'm Mel, a career transition coach, mom of grown-ups, coffee lover, and God girl. I've had a lot of big life changes, and I haven't always been clear about God's plan for me. This led to stress and anxiety and a lack of clarity and courage to make a career move. I finally started listening to God's voice to find clarity and peace and stopped being scared to make a move and achieve my career transition goals. Now, my mission is to help you learn to listen to God's voice and know when to say yes to the career you've always wanted and no to everything else. Let me show you how to clarify your purpose and find courage to pursue your personal and professional goals in your midlife and beyond. Throw down your self-doubt, dust off your dreams, Kindred. It's time to reset and refine and reclaim the woman you once aspired to be.
And we usually are where we are just because of bad patterns of thinking,
Yes.
bad patterns of processing, meaning usually we don't process, right? Bad patterns of speaking, because the word says you will have what you say. So we're usually prophesying everything we don't want. We're just saying, more, please.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I can see that when you get into that griping mode or whatever mode you're in, whether it be griping or edifying or being joyful, joy brings on joy and griping brings on griping. And so like you have to be very cognizant of your own self and your own thoughts and what is coming out of your mouth.
Yes.
To change that pattern. And I think that's where we fall into a lot of times. We don't recognize we're in that pattern.
Yeah. And to your point earlier too, when you were asking, like, how do you take like what you've learned and apply it? And I don't think it was even intentional, but when you think about it, it's like, we're supposed to meditate on the word day and night, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason for that because you have movies in your mind all day. What are you watching?
Yes.
What is literally your mind meditating on day and night? That's the movie of your mind, right? Then scripting. Who's giving you the script?
Yes, exactly.
Who's doing your lines? Who's doing that? Because whatever you're speaking, your words are creating reality. They literally are. They're forming something, right? Out of nothing, God spoke and created the world. Like you're literally that powerful. You do the same thing, right? And then also, depending on whatever you're storing up in your heart, and you can tell by whatever you're murmuring or complaining about, whatever is in your heart, it says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. So you know whatever you're storing up in there by what you're talking about or by what you write on paper when you see it, right? And you can see like, oh, like I'm frustrated because I'm hurt. Or I have this resentment because, or I have this fear that, and when you actually look at it, then you can do something about it.
Yes, because if you're not recognizing it, then it just keeps growing.
Yes.
One thing, like it was one of my very first episodes. I can't even remember which one right off the top of my head, but I'll have it in my show notes. But writing down like 10 things every day that you are thankful for. And they don't have to be these gigantic things. The fact that you got up on time could be one, anything that you can think of from your day, like the first 10 positive things, write those down. And it begets that more positive attitude when you do those things. And like you said, writing it down.
Yes. And give yourself challenges too. Like I believe just in being joyful and childlike and playful, it just makes things way more fun.
Yes. Yes.
Easy, by the way. Right. So give yourself a challenge, right? Like, how do I become the kindest human I know? How many random acts of kindness can I do this week? Right. See if that doesn't affect your mood.
Yeah. Pay it forward. Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like how many people can I reach out to and offer a word of encouragement to this week?
Yes.
Right. So I mean, if your tank is low if God can get it through you, he can get it to you. So if you're waiting on people to come encourage you, how about you go pour out a ton of encouragement to other people and watch what happens?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it.
Right? But it makes
Yes.
it, now you have an intention. Now you have something to focus on. Now you have something that you're committed to, and you're not murmuring and complaining at all because you got a mission.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly.
sometimes it comes down to like, what is my mission literally in this season? Or even what are my top 5 values? Some of us don't even know that because you can just live your values, right? Like I'm a
Yes.
person of integrity. What does that mean to me? Right. And if I am a person of integrity, I do this and I don't do that. So I can let my yes be yes and my no be no. There's no confusion in that. And that just came from a value, knowing what I value.
And back to the writing and like being intentional about your day, write down like what you want to do because we get busy and we forget things. So like if you have a list of like 10 affirmations for somebody or 10 things you can do or 5 affirmations and 10 helpful things, whatever it is, write those down and then start marking those off during the day. Because if you don't, like I get really like today, I didn't even drink water because I was so busy. And so I get to the end of the day and I'm like, my goodness, I've only had like 16 ounces of water and it's already 3:00. And so you have to be very intentional. Like we are all very intentional about our health and those kind of things. Oh, I need to drink my water. I need to take my vitamins. And, we tend not to forget those things, but we tend to forget those other things. So write them down, put things in your, reminders in your phone. Like I use my phone for all kinds of reminders. So that's a great way to help me remember to do those things and affirm somebody or help somebody or and it just, it makes you again, it brings joy to you and it makes you more positive. Like you said, fill your own cup first.
Yes.
Because if you don't have anything to give anybody else.
It's true. You don't. And your impact is everything. And usually that's your energy, right? Your energy will introduce you before you say a word. It's just true.
Oh yeah, it sure does. It sure does.
So it's like, why not spend time cultivating that? That would be
I know. It's amazing how you like people will come in like wherever you're at and you can look at them. If you know them well, you can look at them and you know whether they're in a good mood or a bad mood. And so
100%.
yeah.
100%.
Yes.
So good.
Oh my gosh. There's just, there's so much stuff already going through my head. And I'm like, I can't wait to rewatch this and listen to it again, just so I can like take more notes.
I was thinking of something as you were talking too, and people can do this like this. People that aren't watching can't see, but this is a declaration deck that I made. And really it started on index cards, just to give you an idea. And so the whole idea with this is that there is a scripture on one side and there is a declaration of that truth on the other side. So what this taught me to do was store the word up in my heart. And I have them like on something that I can see every day. So I pick a card every day. I'll have friends come over and pick a card. I'll leave it in my car so the valet can see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I will do this because you want to prophesy or you want to speak your world, right? So you want to speak to the mountain so it'll move. You want to say what you want to see. And so a lot of times if you pick a card at random, right, you'll get the one that you need for the day. And then you will just meditate on the scripture for a few minutes, or if it's in front of you, just at your computer screen, this is your guiding word for the whole day. And you just declare that truth over you when you notice you're drifting.
Yes, I love it. And
isn't that awesome?
For everybody who's listening, I will have a link in the show notes for her stuff. So,
well, even if you don't get those, like all you do is you write down scripture that you need in this season. So like, for example, if it's, I am super anxious. Okay, well, what does the word say? It's usually the opposite of anxiety. Let's say it's confidence, boldness, courage, right? There's many things that you could do instead. So rather than focus on the anxiety, get all of those things. God, thank you that you helped me to be strong and courageous. Thank you that you haven't given me this spirit, right? Thank you that you renew my mind to what is true in this moment. And then you just keep moving and expect him to show up. And he does. But that way you're not just like pushing through, because we learn that in the world. We learn to hustle. We learn to push. We learn to deny ourselves. And that's actually not what serves you. You're meant to give to yourself, nourish yourself, support yourself, be on your side, be your biggest fan, be your biggest cheerleader, right? Like you get way more done and you're way more effective that way. Quite honestly, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not what we're used to, but it works.
I used to write down scriptures on note cards as well. I haven't done it in a little while, so now I feel really bad, really guilty that I haven't done it in so long. But I do have my phone that I, have scripture pop up on there during the day and stuff. But I used to write them on note cards, and then I would like use a little hole punch and put them on a ring and keep them with me, so I could just like have them throughout the day. And so I'm definitely going to get back to that now, because like now I really feel bad that I haven't done that in so long. But
and there's no feeling bad. It's just let it inspire you and pick the ones that are relevant to the area that you need most. Like, ooh, this area is like unsturdy. So I'm going to pick all of my promises that are precious for me here. Yes. And I'm going to like sturdy myself in the truth by reinforcing it every day.
Yes.
Right. And then when it's personal and you're making it practical or just easy for you to do, it gets in you.
Yes.
Right? And then when you need it, it comes out of you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And yeah, my mind is like spinning with all kinds of things now too. So,
I love it.
I may not go to bed very early tonight. I may be working until getting some things on paper and getting things in order. I love how like, iron sharpens iron. And that's why I do guest hosts on my show, because we challenge each other and we challenge our thinking. We push our thinking. And I know that that's what God wants us to do, because we cannot learn everything we need to and see other perspectives if we don't have someone to bounce things off of and get their perspective. And so you can't grow if you don't have that. Yes. So
yeah.
I love having conversations like this. This is yes.
So good. Yeah. There's always breakthrough when you're surrounded by wise counsel.
Yes,
sure.
exactly.
So I recommend too, when it comes to clarity, also start thinking about that. And I call it your advisory board, but basically building your advisory board. Like if you were just running your life, which you are, who are your advisors, right? So is that a therapist? Is that a coach? Is that a spiritual mentor? Like who are these people that are pouring into you? Because you should have people pouring into you. You should have people that you're pouring into, right? And then just also peers, that it's like an equal exchange, right? So you want to be mentoring, you want to have people that you do life with, and then you also want to have people pouring into you. And a lot of times we just pour out and we got nothing.
Yes. Right? Or on the flip side of that, because God also brought this to me this week, if you are just a consumer, and you never produce anything, then there's no growth there either. So like literally yesterday, I wrote that down from some old notes that I had from
and I would say anybody finds themselves in that position, if you're not retaining information anymore, that's when it's time to start creating with what you have. Like literally work what's in your hand. A writer writes, a speaker speaks, a podcaster makes podcasts, like whatever it is, like do the thing that you know to do. Stop thinking you don't have enough. You literally can do so much, just apply it.
Yes. And I think sometimes that's where we also get stuck. We've got so much in our heads that we want to do all of the things. And like many, many people here lately I've been hearing the message of do one thing and do it really well at first. And then like it gives you confidence. It builds it just builds everything. It builds your knowledge base. So I think that's great advice as well.
And I think to the point earlier, right? Like God is always building. So it's, in one season, I just want you to volunteer and I want you to write. And there was nothing attached to that. There wasn't books attached to that. There wasn't outcomes attached to it. It was like, I just want you to do these two things that I told you. Well, health was a part of it too. He was like, I want you to clean up. He gave me a daily 5. Okay. This is what he told me to do. He's like, we're going to up level your entire life. Pick 5 things. If you were to pick these 5 things, your life would radically change. What would they be? Right. It was quiet time with him to make sure that I'm getting filled up. Right. Make sure I'm full of him, not myself.
Yes. Then, right. Love it.
Make sure I'm moving my body in some way every day, that I'm taking care of the vessel he's given me. Eating as close to the source as possible. So eating things that are giving me energy, not things that are just like making me want to go take a nap. Appreciation, because what you appreciates, right? What you appreciates, it gets bigger. And
I love it.
So service, right? So he's like, get really good at doing all of those and just reinforce that. We're going to just work on creating like new programming in you over and over and over again. So in one season, he's like, serve, write, and like do these daily 5, like just 5, right? now that's still part of my life. I just don't even think about it. But all of those are programmed into my life after years of doing this. Then in the next season, it was like, ooh, we want to take on more leadership. And now you're going to train some people. I'm like, that's fun, right? Like he'll keep adding to it. So that's a question of like, focus on one thing. What is God on? And how can I just be faithful? That's what I would say. Instead of like, which thing do I pick? What is God on?
Right. Exactly.
And just be faithful to partner with him in that thing.
Yes. And you mentioned earlier, and I don't remember if we'd already started recording or if this is when we were just talking, but I think it was when you were talking about, you said in 3, when he says it the third time, that's also my number to know, like recognize that he's telling me something. So I will hear it 3 different ways before I'm like, oh yeah, he's said it 3 times in 3 days or 2 days or a week or whatever. So I think being very open to knowing the one thing that he's telling you, he's saying it multiple times. You just have to be really cognizant and aware of what he's telling you.
That's it. And if he's giving you multiple ideas, sometimes it's just write it all out and have it on the back burner.
Yes.
Right. Like, he's done this. I have a community that I run called Courage Co. That took at least 3 years of processing before I even launched the thing.
Yes.
Right? But I was developing it the whole time. I run a program and that was just sitting for a while. I had it all laid out in all the sections, but I never built it out. And then when the time is right, it's like, this is what we do. And it's already ready. You just plug and play. So that's what I mean by faithfulness. It's like, oh, I thought it was time to do this, but that's weird because you have me committed to all these things. Okay, well, I'm going to trust you. And then if we get back to that, that would be awesome. But if we don't, I'm sure this will be better.
Exactly.
So it's really not knowing, but just trusting that like God always has the best idea.
Yes. And we get a lot of outside influence too. So some of those things in our head isn't necessarily coming from God. It's just things that we are taking in multiple ways, especially social media. But when you said you were writing down your thoughts, your feelings, and then what you know, if you're writing all of that down, then you can start looking for those themes as well. And that may be where he's like honing you to one thing. This is what I want you to do because you're seeing these themes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think to me, what's interesting in hearing that back, I feel like a lot of people are like, where does confidence come from? Right. But I'm like, I think confidence has come from coming boldly to the throne. Like some of this work that I'm showing you every day, I'm like, I'm coming before God and just giving him who I am.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm here like, here's what's up. This is upsetting me. I'm actually mad at you today. You know what I mean? I'm like literally talking to God and having these conversations because he's my wonderful counselor. Like you're going to counsel me after this, I'm sure. So that's where I'm at, right? I'm like, he's my master coach. He's my counselor. He's my BFF, like whatever I need that day.
Yes.
I think I've developed confidence because I've trusted him and I've seen him show up and I know who's backing me. And you show up very different when you're standing on a firm foundation than when you've never had one.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
And I think if you're doing this, not just every once in a while, but if you're doing it consistently, you might not have a huge list. But imagine that. Then you have a lightness of being. And wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. But if you don't have a huge list, then you probably are pretty in tune with yourself and with God anyway. So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, your list is going to look different. It's going to be
everybody's going to look different.
Yeah, it's going to be more of the positive things. And you're probably, in my mind, I'm thinking you may not need to write a list because you're already pretty in tune with him and you don't have to even sort that stuff out.
Now I do it in my car. I'll just talk to him.
Yeah,
I'm probably still going through, not necessarily a list, but it's very conversational. And I'm just talking like, it's like if somebody was like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I'm like, I actually tell God though. And he listens to me. And he's like, hey, what about that thing? What about that thing? You didn't tell me about that.
Yes.
What's going on there? And I'm like, ooh, you're right though. You know, and it's
I know
this thing back and forth. And so to me, it's when you live that vulnerably and transparently, you're a really free human. Now, that's not to say you're going to have different seasons and this is always going to change. And some seasons are like way weightier, but you know exactly where to go with all that. Right. And then he'll point you to anybody else that needs to be involved with that as well. So it's just a beautiful way to stay connected. To me. Like you don't have to devote 3 hours to prayer in the morning or something.
Exactly.
Keep it a constant conversation.
Exactly. And that was another thing. You don't have to pray these long prayers. Like I talk to him multiple times a day. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 minutes. Like sometimes I'll be in the middle of a prayer and I'll get distracted with something else. And like he knows, I mean, we're human. He knows that he created us. So he's not going to be mad at you for getting sidetracked into prayer, but you're at least talking to him and you'll develop a better prayer habit for sure.
So good.
But also as you were talking, I'm thinking sometimes I think as people, we just don't think we can say certain things to God. Well, God already knows what's in your head anyway. You might as well get it out of your mouth and like be free of it, because once you get it out, then you have lifted that bondage of whatever it is and you feel more free. And he can take it. He knows already what you're feeling. So you might as well just verbalize it and get it out.
Yes. So good. And I mean, he never tires of your questions. Nothing is a surprise to him.
Yep.
It's something changes in you when you're in a safe space. It's literally like God holding space for you and everything is okay. And he's going to handle it. And he's going to point you to whatever it is that you need. Like in his presence literally is everything that you need, which is really beautiful. Right. And he's going to, he knows exactly what you need. He's just kind of like, you done yet? You gonna let me help you yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I love on you for a second? You know what I mean? Like,
and I don't think because as moms, we are the person that everybody depends on. And it's hard for us to be like, I can completely depend on God for every single thing. And I can depend on him for the big things and the little things. And I can come to him for the big things and the little things. And so I think it's a relearning that refiner's fire, like practicing and just resetting. Like you said, you had your 5 things that he had to you had to practice and you had to do it daily. And I think just as women who have children who are leaving and we now get to like focus on ourselves, that is one of the things we have to do. We just have to practice that.
And I think it's human, right? This is just part of being human. And I can level this. I didn't come from a legacy of faith at all, right? So I didn't even know relationship with God was possible. So just take that in, right? So like where I am today was impossible. I didn't even know that that was a reality that could be accessed or that could change my life, right? So like to know, I think something that's helpful is just asking God, who do you want to be for me in this season? Right. And then let him start revealing different aspects of who he is, or even ask him those things like, you know what, like, I don't know you. I don't trust you because I don't know you. I'm not convinced that you love me. Like, help me receive that from you. Help me understand what that means and give that to him. The weightiness of that question, give that to him, or help me to see me the way you see me.
Like, really, I just have to say, so if Juliana can come from no faith at all, not knowing God, to being so in tune with God. Think about how you can be if you already know God. And because most of my audience, they are believers, they know who God is. I talk about God in every single episode. And so hopefully they are in a place to where they can receive that. If they don't know who God is, they're listening because they want to learn how to have a relationship with him. So be confident in the fact that, ladies, if you don't know who God is, if Juliana can come from not knowing God to where she is now, like you can move mountains already knowing who he is, and you can get in tune with him very quickly, I think.
For sure. And I think what's driving that too, like my heart for it was, I want to know authentic love. I feel like I had learned that the love that I knew was conditional. And this is where people pleasing, codependency, all these crazy, unhealthy, loving habits that we're told. I'm like, that ain't love. That ain't love. Or this looking for love in all the wrong places. I'm like, nah, like I got to clean this up. Like if this was like flowing through everything and then it hit me, like I got to be the one that like actually stops and figures out what is real love. And then the question was, well, I got to know the author, and that's interesting because I don't. Right. So it's truly for me, if I really value relationships and being a loving human, how am I actually going to do that? I don't want to give them what I think is love. I want to give them an encounter with him, but I can't do that if I don't know him. Right. So like that was the main driver. And then why I'm saying that is you can say, okay, what is the most loving thing that I've experienced, or what does love look like? Because God loves me way more than that. Like he created what's behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or
Mm-hmm.
take different things that you've had in your life. Like, who was this beautiful human that just made you feel so valued, seen, appreciated? That's God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or when you were sitting in that therapist's office and they were loving you and holding space for you, God
Mm-hmm.
does that.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Or when you
Mm-hmm.
had that like sister, or that friend, or like that person that's like, you're my person, that's
Right.
God. So it's like you actually can see different aspects. You can really start to view him in different ways based on what you've experienced that
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
right? And then the more you start to know his word, you hear how he talks, you know what his character is,
Right.
all these other qualities of him, and it just gets bigger.
Yes. And he talks to people differently because we receive things differently.
Yes.
So you have to get to know him intimately where you are at that moment.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So good.
All right. So Juliana, one last question. Well, I have two, but this one, the last one is just like how my listeners can connect, but this one is for you. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Helping people align and track with God.
Okay. I love it. I knew that was going to be kind of what you were saying just from where you were leading us at that very end. And that's why I wanted to end with that, because I knew that was probably something similar.
Yeah. I mean, I can't promise you that life isn't going to be hard, or that you're not going to face challenges, or there's going to be pain, or there's going to be massive grief, or there's going to be these amazing things to celebrate. But if you have God, you have everything you need. Yes. But if you don't, I can't promise you're going to have a very good outcome.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Juliana, how can my listeners connect with you?
Yes. Well, julianapage.com is where all of the links are to all the things, whether it's podcast, the community that I run, Courage Co. It's www.courageco.org is a free community. So I do masterclasses, challenges, prayer calls, all free. Free.
Wow.
No, all free. So you can plug in
that deal.
Yeah, you can plug into there and get massively blessed. You can listen to the God's Vibes podcast. It's a podcast that talks all things God, really, but the journey is going from self-sabotage to self-mastery with him, so that you can be his ambassador and really rule and reign on the earth and what he has for you. So I love it. That is really what that's about. And that's really practical. And that's, some days it's talking about trauma. Other days it's talking about emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's talking about just him. But it's powerful. Right. So
wonderful. Wonderful. And of course, I will have all of those links in the show notes. So It will not be hard to find her, but I wanted her to verbalize it. And I told her earlier that I might accidentally call her Juliana. And I think I did just a minute ago, because I have a student with the same name, or with Juliana as her name. And this is Juliana. And so I apologize, because I'm pretty sure I just called you Juliana a while ago. And I knew I would do that. So I already prepped her for the fact that I might mess up. So.
I love
it. Juliana, it has been an absolute pleasure. I absolutely adore all of the things that you've said today. I have massive notes. I hope my ladies took massive notes. And I hope they listen to this podcast episode over and over. And if you haven't heard God Vibes, you need to listen to Juliana, because that is one of the reasons I wanted her on my show. Her content is amazing, but I am like, I think I'm a little bit, I have a little crush on your voice. Oh my gosh. So I was listening. I'm like, oh my goodness. She has the best voice ever. So,
maybe a new profession for me. I don't know.
I know. See, you can add that to your journalism and your videography stuff. It's wonderful. You can be, maybe Disney is hiring, because you would like.
Yeah, no.
See, this is maybe God thing here. You hear this. If you hear it more than once, if you hear it 2 more times, he's telling you.
I'll pay attention. Disney, exactly. You better be listening.
Exactly. All right, Juliana, I thank you so much for being on, and I will probably have you on again very soon.
Let's do it. Thank you so much. This has been an honor. I love the work that you're doing, and everyone in this community is so blessed to have you. So thank you for letting me.
Thank you so much. All right, you take care.
You too.